I literally learned how to use chopsticks just to do this beef.
係喎，
Just to literally
多
do
啲
it.
唔得湯，咁少湯就影唔到啲嘢出嚟。係一陣間我哋 let the camera eat first。
Dude,
okay?
he didn't cut it that well. Hello everyone! For this week, we're going to be making some Taiwanese beef noodle soup. If you never had it, it's a super flavorful broth enhanced by various different spices and aromatics. I don't think it's super difficult either, but it does take some time as with any soup. So let's get started. First things first is to blanch your meat and bones. You don't need to use bones, but it does definitely enhance the flavor if you're only using boxed beef broth. For the meat, I'll be using beef shank, which is tough, but once it cooks down, it becomes oh so tender. Just cover your meat and bones with water and let it come up to a boil, which should take a while since I had like 4 pounds of beef shank. Now we're going to toast our spices to bring out more flavor. I'll be using 5 pieces of star anise, a tablespoon of goji berries, a teaspoon of szechuan peppercorns, and 2 bay leaves, which I forgot to show by accident. Put the spices over medium-low heat and let them heat up until they start smelling fragrant, which should take around like 1 to 2 minutes. Just be careful not to burn your spices though. Once they're fragrant, put them aside and we're going to get started with the rest of our prep. For our aromatics, we're going to cut up 2 pieces of scallion. You can cut it up roughly, no worries. A small knob of ginger. It's okay if it looks a little messy because we're just going to boil this anyway, so no matter what shape it is, it should be fine. Then cut up 3 tomatoes into wedges. The tomatoes will add a nice acidic element and it pairs very well with the beef in my opinion, and also adds extra umami as well. Grab 7 garlic cloves and just smash them with the back of your knife. I'm not even joking, just use your hands and bam, that's it. Do it for the rest of them. Here I also have 3 pieces of dried tangerine peels that are soaking in water. Make sure you don't throw away that water as we'll throw everything in together and that's basically extra flavor right here. So your big pot of water of beef shank and bones should be coming up to a boil by now, and what we're doing right now is trying to blanch the meat and bones. A lot of Asian soups will do this step as it removes a lot of the blood and bad smell from the various bones or meats, and it'll give you a clearer final product as well. We want to blanch the meat for 5 minutes once it comes up to a boil, and as you can already start to see, bubbles and stuff are rising to the surface. This is called the scum, and it's basically the impurities that are coming out of the bones and meat. Once this has been blanched for 5 minutes, empty it out into a colander, and we're going to rinse all the bones and the meat. Alright, time to finally start our soup. So add some oil into a big pot, wait till it gets hot, and then add in your aromatics. Stir fry the ginger, scallions, and garlic until they become very fragrant, give or take like 30 seconds to a minute. Now we're going to add some doubanjiang, or fermented soybean sauce. I'm using the brand Lee Kum Kee, which you can find at most typical Asian stores. We're going to use 3 tablespoons. Fry this sauce in the oil for 30 seconds to bring out extra flavor from them. Just stir it around with the other aromatics with tongs or a wooden spoon or whatever object you want to use. After the paste has been cooked for a bit, add in your beef shanks and move them around so they're coated by the paste. This will help distribute the flavor in them a little more evenly. Once the shanks have been evenly coated, deglaze the pot with 1/3 cup of shaoxing wine. Cook it around a minute to get rid of that alcohol taste. Then add in 1/3 cup of soy sauce and a tablespoon of sweet soy sauce. The sweet soy sauce is going to add a nice dark color which we want in our broth. Stir the shanks around and cook them in the soy sauce mixture for a bit before we add in our beef bones and tomatoes. Once the tomatoes have been added, place in 2 quarts of beef broth. So my 2 quarts were enough to fill up the pot, or basically cover up the bones and meat, so I'm going to add a bit of water as well to cover it. Add in a chunk of rock sugar, and this will help sweeten and tenderize the meat as well, and the rest of your toasted spices. Don't forget your tangerine peels as well. Give this all a good stir, and then we're going to bring this up to a boil before setting it back down to a simmering level. You can see right here, this is what I mean by simmering, a bit of bubbles here and there, and we want to simmer this soup for around 1.5 hours, and then we're going to check on the meat to see if it's tender enough. So after 1.5 hours, I pulled out a beef shank to check if it's tender enough. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but me poking it through a fork, it's still a little tough, so I'm gonna boil it for another 30 minutes. I check again after 30 minutes, and I thought at this point it was tender enough. This is up to your preference though, on how tender you want it to be. I like it tender, but still have a little bite in it, so the meat is basically not just mush. At this point, you can continue to simmer the broth longer, as it's only been 2 hours, or just choose to serve it. The longer you simmer it though, the more rich the flavor would be, and I did it longer because I wanted to extract more flavor from my bones. I pretty much simmered this for around 4 hours in total, and then I strained the soup just in time for dinner. Here's another optional step you can do, which is straining the excess oil. I like having a little bit of oil, but not too much, so here's me straining it into the bowl on the right. When the soup is finally done, serve it up with some noodles and other toppings. I had some ajitama, some pickled mustard greens, the beef obviously, and some blanched spinach. I'm not gonna lie, my homemade ramen noodles went great with this, and if you want to learn how to make it, look on the top right. There you have it, some Taiwanese beef noodle soup. You definitely have a choice of buying or making your own, and your topping options are whatever you want them to be. You can tell why this can be expensive at some places because it definitely takes a lot of time to make a good broth. This is an easy home-cooked version, but you'll still be impressed by the taste, I bet. I'll probably also release a video on ajitamas in the near future as well. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at WeekendCooks. Take it easy everyone.